that up. All right. Hey now. It's Ruben with Help Find the Others. Figured I'd pop on here, do a live stream to talk crypto. It's a good day today. As always, grateful obviously for everyone and all the energy everyone puts into my channel and Discord and podcasts and all that stuff. But today I'm also grateful for this once in a lifetime financial opportunity that is in front of all of us. And so I was going to get on as a live stream, for anyone that pops in to throw questions out there. What's up, D-Lars? How you doing? We can talk about that, but I wanted to, I've made a video the past couple weeks and ended up not posting it and wanted to add stuff, and then things change and everything. But I wanted to record a video of yeah, Stan says that Bitcoin's a scam. Jerka Kuba. I wanted to kind of lay out my Bitcoin and crypto thesis, and not just crypto, but more my financial thesis for us weirdos going forward, and how I think that obviously Bitcoin is part of that. So I guess I'll start with Stan, obviously joking, saying Bitcoin is a scam. It is a scam. A lot of people call it a Ponzi scheme. Well, scheme. It's a scheme. A lot of people call it a Ponzi scheme. And so a Ponzi scheme is the most the biggest one ever is Bernie Madoff's scheme. And so that was and what the Ponzi scheme comes from Charles Ponzi, who like in the 1800s or whatever, went around New York City with an investment thing, and he was just stealing people's money. But a more elaborate one like Bernie Madoff's, how that went is he got all these rich people and everyone to invest in his, I don't know if he called it an index fund or whatever, but I mean, this was a multi-billion-dollar fund that was, I believe at the time Bernie Madoff was like on all these boards and committees for Wall Street. And I mean, he was a very highly respected investor, and people gave him their money to invest. But behind the scenes, he was just taking all the money and producing all these fake numbers and stuff for to make people think they were making all this money, but he was just, him and his family were just taking it and buying mansions and boats and stuff like that. And they had completely fake books that made people, when regulators would come, they could show them this and be like, this is that. And it wasn't until the 2008 crash, where everybody lost their ass, that he was returning gains, that, some really smart regulators and whistleblowers were like, there's no way he could be doing this. And then when they looked into it, it turned out it was all fake. So that's what a Ponzi scheme is. Bitcoin is not a Ponzi scheme. It's very much real. And that's the whole beauty of blockchain, is that while I don't understand the analytics of it, some very intelligent, technologically advanced people do. And Bitcoin is real stuff. Now, some of the exchanges and stuff like that could be Ponzi schemes, except for the gains are real. It's a global market. It's not just one fund that we're putting money into. It is a worldwide, global, unregulated for the most part market. So the prices and the gains and all that stuff. Now there could be market manipulation, but other than that, it's very, very much real. but Bitcoin is a scheme, and it's a pyramid scheme. Now that has a bad connotation if you take it on face value. But the thing is that pretty much all of capitalism is a pyramid scheme. Is that whatever game you're playing with money, you start at the bottom, and you need to get other people underneath you to work your way to the top. Everything works like that. The stock market is the world's largest pyramid scheme. So Bitcoin is that, but does that mean that it's bad? No, that's just capitalism, which, has negative aspects to it and has been bad for society in some aspects, but very good in others. And that's another discussion for another time. But, for the price to go up of Bitcoin, yes, new people do need to buy at all-time highs. Whoever's buying today is making the price go up for people that bought yesterday. And so in that sense, it's a scheme, but it's a pyramid scheme for the people, because so much of the legacy financial system, the stock market and bond market, it is gotten to the point where it's impossible for people to make life-changing money in less than a lifetime through, traditional investments. I forgot the statistic, but I saw that like 80% of stocks are owned by the top like 5% of people in the stock market. So everyone that has their little Robinhood app or, has a 401k or an IRA or any of that stuff, like, yeah, you're putting money away and it's going up, a little percent here and there. And, over time, over 30 years, you may double your money or something like that. But we've gotten to a point, and this is part of the fallout of the pandemic and everything, to where inflation is going to be so crazy that it's going to hurt your spending power of your fiat currency so much that saving in the traditional manner will just be keeping your head above water financially. That if you want to get any sort of financial freedom by investing and having your money work for you, you have to look for stuff with asymmetric potential. And what I mean by that is that the upside potential is much greater than the downside. The downside is always 100%, losing 100%. So a lot of stocks, the traditional like stock investment is once your money doubles, take out your principal and hop onto something else, right? So then Bitcoin comes along. The upside potential, you can't even put a percentage on it. It's only, 12 years old. We're in price discovery. And the upside potential could be 1,000%, 2,000%, 10,000%. Nobody knows. The downside is only 100. You can only lose your money that you put in, but the upside is unlimited. So that makes it basically right now the best asymmetric potential investment you can have. We will probably never see a moment like this again in our lifetimes. And because, if to go back to the stock market, that like the little guy's priced out of it. To get into the stocks, you have to, to get any large amount, you have to go through a broker. If you have a 401k or an IRA, you have a money manager that handles all that. It's all like you're just putting money into a big pool, and these guys are taking these big cuts out of it for managing the money. Crypto is different because you can buy any time of the day or night by yourself, any amount. You can hold the asset yourself. And that's what I mean by it being a pyramid scheme for the people. Even if you're getting in now at all-time high prices, the upside potential is insane, and you are in control of that. There doesn't need to be any sort of middleman. Yeah, there's, the fees for the on-ramps and stuff like that. You have to pay the 1% fee to turn fiat into crypto. But for the most part, nobody's getting a cut of, any gains you have, to where the stock market, it does not work that way. So Bitcoin is a pyramid scheme for the people. And it just blows my mind. Now, we're sitting here today at, I don't know. It's so crazy today that my, portfolio Blockfolio, doesn't really even work. But we're at 2,100 or 21,000 probably now, close to it. I think we touched it for a minute there, but yeah, we're 20,600, something like that. It has been a crazy ride. The last time we were around this level, a lot of people that were invested, that were retail investors, it was their first time getting into finances. I'm that way, right? I never invested in anything, until I just followed some silly mushroom inspiration to buy Bitcoin, and then just took the path down this road. But it's opened up my eyes to so many different things. And I talk about it all the time. Financial freedom does not mean rich. There's homeless people that have financial freedom. If they're not just mentally ill, but they actually like enjoy, not being attached to anything, that's financial freedom. But anybody who, finds themselves like, oh, that must be nice, when they see people go on vacation, or like, I'd like to own a house someday, or whatever. Like, anybody that has that kind of thing in your subconscious, if there's anything you tell yourself you can't do because you can't afford it, and that whatever that thing is something that would help you grow and help build life experience and stuff like that, you're not financially free. And the old school way of gaining financial freedom would be like, well, save your money, invest your money. That's what people would always say. And just the way that fiat money and taking the global economy off of a gold standard has changed the game for everyone. Saving money doesn't work. Your money will get inflated away. So, that's the big thing that's going on right now. You see all these institutions buying and adding to their corporate treasuries and stuff like that as a hedge against that inflation. And for anyone that thinks, that, Bitcoin is a scam and it's going to go to zero and stuff like that, and instead, or says it's not backed by anything, whenever someone says that, I challenge them to say, well, what is fiat money backed by? And nobody can answer that. The only answer is it's backed by the U.S. economy's hold over oil and energy in this world, and our military might. That's the only thing that backs the dollar. We can print as much as we want. There's been 35% of all U.S. dollars to ever exist were printed in the last 10 months. That's all you need to know. Even if you don't agree that Bitcoin's the answer, you need to ask that question of like, this money that I spend 40 hours of my life a week trying to accumulate. 35% of all the ones that have ever been created were created this year. And if you don't start thinking, well, what does that mean? How is that going to play out? Then you're losing the game. And the game is money. You can replace it with anything, but it's a game. And it's a 50-50 game to where 50% of the people playing the game win, 50% of the people lose. And oftentimes that 50% that lose didn't even realize they were playing a game. So that was a big realization I've had since, since being involved in crypto and really researching all this stuff, is that I lived most of my life losing a game I didn't realize I was playing. And while I don't envy or aspire to be a multi-billionaire or anything like that, I did start realizing, like, what are these guys doing that they're winning the game? Aside from the people like Donald Trump or stuff like that were just like handed money and just kind of maintained that. They were handed real estate and they just kind of maintained that, and they've just kind of stayed where they came into the game at. The thing is that you can think rich or think poor, and the end result is going to be what you thought. And if you're always like, oh, fuck these rich guys, fuck them, the whole thing's fucking rigged or whatever, that's thinking poor. And you're going to follow that path if you're thinking that way. If you look at rich people and you're like, man, I wish I had the freedom they have to, go do whatever, whenever, to where their time is their own, their money works for them, regardless of how much that money may be. Then you were thinking rich. And I think the biggest area that most people think poor, even say you make $100,000 a year, but you do that with a job that you don't like, for a company you don't like, for a boss you don't like. Even though you may consider yourself rich or wealthy or whatever term you want to use, the problem is that you are a wage slave. If your only source of income is selling time out of your life to someone else to profit off of, you're a wage slave, no matter what that wage is. A big thing that people in finance say is, have multiple revenue streams. So that's been the biggest thing for me with crypto is my money has worked harder for me in the last couple years now than I have, and for 2 of the years of being in crypto, I didn't even have a job. It was the only income I had, to where, now with having an income that pays my bills, but then having money that makes money for me, I've really started to taste that financial freedom. And that's why I preach this so hard for all of us weirdos out there that strive for spiritual freedom, psychological freedom, whatever kind of freedom. Financial freedom is part of that whole puzzle. And there may be other ways to get that. But I think breaking the wage slave mentality and investing in crypto right now, I think they're the best ways. It's the easiest way, at least, but I think it's got the most potential. But yeah, I really, for anyone who listens to my rants about Bitcoin and is like, oh my God, he's in this cult or whatever. Yeah, it is. It is a cult. Bitcoin is a cult, but that's what gives it its power. The belief in it. That's what gives the US dollar its power, is the belief that we're the #1 economy and best country in the world. Because there's so many other metrics that you could break down the US economy and be like, they're not actually the best. But everyone believes they are. And that gives it its power. I think that's what gives the government its power. Everyone believes that they're in charge, when this year has shown they're not, and they don't fucking know what the fuck they're doing. But Bitcoin, it has this belief, and it has followed through on those beliefs throughout its entire existence. That may change, and the cult may wane, but right now it's just picking up steam. And I embrace the negative connotation that people say with calling Bitcoin a scheme or a scam, or saying that Bitcoin believers are in a cult. I embrace that. Those are all good things. If you look at it from the right perspective. I hope that ramble made sense. Let me go through some of the comments here. JG said, this is the way. Yes, it is. This is the way. D-Lars, do you know anything about Ethereum? Yeah. Okay. I look at crypto this way. I know how to drive the race car, but I've never looked under the hood. And if I did, I wouldn't know what any of the stuff is, if that makes sense. Like, all I have to see is that the smartest people in tech, the smartest people in banking, the smartest people in finance, the most forward-thinking companies are all investing and pivoting to work in crypto. And again, my cult-like belief in this thing is enough to be like, they know what they're talking about. I haven't seen anyone break down from a technical aspect like, this is stupid, this doesn't make sense. So I trust that the technology being built is right. There's a lot of people that are like, either with Ethereum or Bitcoin, are like, it doesn't scale to the level of a Visa, MasterCard, or whatever. That's like saying whenever Netflix came out and they were just sending DVDs through the mail. That's like saying, that company's never going to be anything. You can't stream a movie from it. It's going to progress. So I think Ethereum is trying to build on stuff that Bitcoin can't yet do. But I think that Bitcoin could do. But I think there's room for both. I think Bitcoin is, the peer-to-peer cash that electronic cash system that is in the white paper. That narrative doesn't really work once you get to this giant, crazy, unbelievable number per Bitcoin as far as market price goes, because nobody wants, who's going to buy a coffee with something that could be worth $100,000 in 10 years. So I think the digital gold narrative works better. That it's an underlying layer of value on the internet going forward. And that will be built out to where Ethereum is trying to, be this whole, world supercomputer network thing. And then ETH is the cryptocurrency that runs that. They want to get away from proof of work for mining, which is, using computing power to create the Bitcoins or get awarded the Bitcoins. That's, how cryptocurrency has been developed or created since the inception of Bitcoin, to where Ethereum is now started what is called proof of stake, where you hold stuff in the wallets and validate transactions if you hold enough. And, basically you have to have your computer running just like a miner, but you don't need a specific computer to do that, I believe. But again, those are the technicals I don't really understand. A lot of people shit on the electric usage and consumption that Bitcoin mining takes up and say that proof of stake is going to be better for that. So going forward, maybe proof of stake is going to be better. So I think Ethereum is worth a pretty good speculative bet that if proof of stake is going to work, it's going to be Ethereum that is the largest proof of stake network. So I think Ethereum is a damn good bet right now. I think as Bitcoin goes crazy, that the FOMO of trying to find the next Bitcoin, Ethereum will do very well again, just like it did in 2017. I don't think it'll crash as hard as it did, though, because of that proof of stake. There's so much locked up that I don't think people are going to be getting rid of it because they can't for 2 years. So I think another big difference with Ethereum is we know who started it. A big part of that cult of Bitcoin is the myth of who started it, why. That's very important to the belief in Bitcoin. I think there's two things that can hurt Bitcoin's dominance. I think Bitcoin will always be the top of the cryptocurrency market, and I think it will reach a point where it's basically the Dow Jones of the crypto market. That everything is there's no more real volatility in Bitcoin, and everything else is volatile, but it's priced in Bitcoin. But it's so hard to get your hands on a Bitcoin that you can't actually, and that's like you can't buy the Dow Jones, but it's the metric we use for the value of different industries and stuff like that. Where I think Ethereum will always be like, a Fortune 500 stock. It'll always be like kind of the top, but right under what Bitcoin is. I may be wrong there. I don't know, but I think it comes down to, we know who created it. At some point, Congress could bring Vitalik in and question and make him break up, and whatever. Like all that kind of stuff could happen when there is a focal point of who did this, right? Like Facebook tried to create their own cryptocurrency, and as soon as they did, they got pulled in and whatever, because they're a publicly traded organization, and government regulatory bodies can go after them. I think something could be done to where Ethereum could get kind of put under that scrutiny. But that goes into the whole like decentralized kind of thing. And, if they stay decentralized, then maybe that they're immune to that. I'm not sure, but there is a dude they can go after. And that's what's so important about the myth of Satoshi Nakamoto. And I think there's two things that could ultimately hurt Bitcoin. One, and this goes back to like, I don't understand the technical components, but my understanding is that potentially quantum computers could get to the point where they break the cryptography of Bitcoin and make the double spend problem real, to where, you know, you can infinitely produce and reproduce Bitcoin. Why would someone do that? I don't know. Why would you create, you know, a new amazing computing technology just to destroy, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of value overnight? I don't know. Also, if a computer can crack the encryption of the Bitcoin network, there's actually more at stake than just the crypto market there. Like that kind of, you know, can change privacy and security worldwide for all digital systems. So I don't know if like there's an evil actor behind quantum computing that would do a thing like that, not just to Bitcoin, but to everything. So, but that is a matzo ball hanging out there over Bitcoin's head, is that, you know, technology could break the encryption, thus make it useless. But I you know, I have faith that the technology will advance with blockchain to the point that that's not an issue, and quantum computing will only make mining more energy efficient. You know, I don't know. The other thing is that if we had definitive proof come out of whoever Satoshi is and why they created and how they created Bitcoin, if we had proof of who that is, and it was someone or some government body or some group of people that were undesirable to the market, to where the market lost its faith and its value in Bitcoin. I don't know who that would be. If it was like, you know, the CIA came out and said like, yeah, we created Bitcoin to track everyone. I don't know what that would be, but there is that possibility, which makes the myth of not knowing who it is so much more important. No one could bring the CEO of Bitcoin in to question in front of Congress, you know. So that's where I'm at with Bitcoin versus Ethereum. I think they are both great things to be invested in right now. You know, I recommend that. I think Bitcoin's going to be so hard to get your hands on in like 10 years, say, that you should probably get that. You should probably focus more on that. Like I would recommend, well, this guy I like, Raoul Pal, whatever. His portfolio in crypto is 80% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum. I think that's pretty good. You know, that's probably roughly where I'm at. I'm not sure, but I have other altcoins too. But those are just kind of fun, speculative gamble bets. The only one, if you ask me, like, which crypto is going to be around in 10 years, the only one I can for sure with like 99.9% confidence say is Bitcoin. I don't know if that made sense or answered your question, D. Lars. If you have any other specific questions about Ethereum, throw them in there. Alex said, Bitcoin is described in the white paper. What coin comes most close to it? None. I just explained that part, I guess. But the myth of Satoshi Nakamoto, the network effect, the critical mass, the market cap, everything about Bitcoin, nothing comes close to it. Ethereum is a distant second. If you look at the network usage of all the blockchains, it's not anywhere close. I saw this guy that was trying to do get the electrical consumption of all the different cryptocurrencies in their mining or staking and what they use. And when they started looking at it, the number from Bitcoin to Ethereum of network usage was so drastic that they didn't even finish doing the paper, because it's like there's no comparison. There's no comparison. Bitcoin's market cap is larger than the biggest bank in the world, than JP Morgan. Right now, the Bitcoin network is worth more than the biggest bank in the world. That's the other thing you need to know. First you need to realize 35% of all US dollars ever created were printed in the last 10 months. And then we go, well, I got to figure out something, like saving dollars isn't going to do it. Should I invest? Oh, banks are good to invest in. What's the biggest bank in the world? Well, the biggest bank in the world is the Bitcoin network. That's all you need to know. I don't see it changing. There's obviously better technology that comes out, but the better technology doesn't always win. The better technology may be used, but it doesn't always win. Like, a really old reference or whatever is Betamax versus VHS. If anyone remembers those things, like before there was a little round silver disc you put in a machine, there used to be a tape thing, and there was two competing technologies. Betamax was a superior audio and visual experience, but for whatever reason, the network effect and the critical mass was behind VHS, and Betamax, was obsolete within a few years. So there may be coins that say, oh, this is better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin has all these drawbacks and all this stuff. Yeah, there may be better technology out there, but are they going to get the critical mass and the network effect to end up being a higher market cap than Bitcoin? No, I don't see that happening. If anything, that'll just get absorbed into Bitcoin. Like, for instance, with Ethereum, I mentioned smart contracts. All they have to do is do some sort of upgrade to Bitcoin and make it able to have smart contracts, and it beats Ethereum again right there on that component. So you'll see a lot of that right now as FOMO sets in, and people think they're priced out of Bitcoin and that they can't get any, and they will try to get the next coin, try to get something that compares to Bitcoin, and they won't, or they will and it'll do well, and they'll be like, oh, this is the next Bitcoin, and then that day will come where all altcoins lose 50% of their value over the course of a couple days or whatever. And it's, building those blocks back up. This is exactly what happened in 2017. I should have best been, from the moment I had a mushroom experience and woke up and had the word Bitcoin in my head. If I've talked about it plenty of times, you guys know, but if anyone hasn't heard about that, look back in my videos, I explain it. I should have just been buying like $100 a week of Bitcoin. I've put it into the dollar cost averaging calculator, and I'd have like 3 times more than what I have now if I just would have done that. But I thought all these coins were going to do great. I thought I had Populous, I had Salt tokens, I had Veritasium, I had all these things, that either had the scarcity of Bitcoin or could have more transactions per second, whatever their claim to beat Bitcoin was. I totally believed in it, and I bought them at all-time high and rode them into the ground and just pissed money away. So it's okay to have a diverse portfolio during this time where we're going to see everything just gotta go on a parabola. But the only thing worth holding at the end of next year is Bitcoin. At least until we get through the Great Depression that is coming globally. Bitcoin is the only thing that's going to be the life raft through that. After all that dust settles, if that's 5 years, 10 years, whatever it's going to take to get the insolvency that is about to happen in global banks, to get that behind us and to build the actual new blockchain-based global economy, Bitcoin's the only thing that's going to make it to that point. After that, there may be other things that are used and stuff like that. But right now, to get through this next period, Bitcoin is the life raft. Ha ha ha, said Bitcoin is life. It is. Government cannot take my Bitcoins from me. Yeah, exactly. A non-confiscatable asset that you can hold is huge. And I haven't heard there's this kind of thing that people throw out, like governments will just ban it. First off, they can't. Second, like from a technological standpoint, they can drive it underground, and everyone has to learn how to use VPNs and maybe even ham radio technology. They've had Bitcoin transacted over ham radios, satellite technology, stuff like that. If you think that the government's going to ban Bitcoin, that means that you think your government is going to install some sort of firewall to the internet. If you think the government's going to ban Bitcoin, you think that means you think that they're going to institute some sort of firewall, to the internet like China and North Korea does. And I don't think that's the case in most, Western societies, but maybe they can regulate the fiat on and off ramps for sure. But if you look at a lot of the regulation that they talk about, it's not about banning it. They know that's a losing battle. It's about knowing who has it. The government can't take your Bitcoins, but they probably will catch up and be able to find out you have it. But that goes back to like that makes me want to sell it even less. I don't want to sell it and short sight myself. But I also don't want to sell it and have to give the government a cut of that, So I don't know, like as much as I think Bitcoin's gonna be a life raft to the people that are paying attention during this time, I think it's gonna be a life raft for governments and economies and GDPs and stuff like that. And I don't think they're gonna hamper it. They just are they're trying their best to make it not an honor system when it comes to reporting your taxes on your capital gains on it. Fairy dust equals stonks. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where we're seeing the inflation first. Food costs has gone up and people haven't really realized it because, we got too much distracting us right now. But the first place we're seeing inflation right now, where all the money that, that 35% of the US dollars I said is getting printed, that all went into the stock market. So the stock market is at all times highs, but for no reason. For companies that are doing worse than they've ever done, have an all-time high stock valuation. That makes no sense. Look up zombie companies. Like there's all these companies that are dead. Like I don't know where it's at today. I don't pay attention to stocks that much. But Hertz Rent-A-Car filed for bankruptcy, and then the Robinhood traders, tripled their stock overnight after they filed for bankruptcy. And I think it's still high. I'm not real sure. I'd have to look that up. But that's the situation with the stock market. A darling of the stock market last year was a company called WeWork, who they owned a lot of real estate in New York. Their business model was, these kind of like shared workplaces and stuff like that. And they own all this real estate. So they hold a lot of assets, but the company itself was losing money every quarter, like an insane amount of money, but their stock was doing some of the best in the stock market. So that's a fairy dust right there. Someone's getting rich off it, but it's not the people in the company other than their stock options. And the stock market is just full of that. Governments will eventually peg to BTC since gold is trash. Maybe that's way down the road. I think that people say that Bitcoin will be the world reserve currency. I think it will be the unofficial world currency. I think governments are going to try the central bank digital currencies first. That way they can do very like pinpoint stimulus. Instead of sending checks out to everybody, they send them to people that need them. They can monitor people's spending. They can get a much more real-time influence over the economy by having a central bank digital currency. They'll try that first, and that may work for generations. I'm not sure, but I think that companies are going to solidify their treasuries with Bitcoin. And then once they do that, and once that's part of their valuation, then they will accept that as payment on every, website that you see will have Bitcoin option. And that will kind of be a de facto way to peg currencies to that, and that's what I mean. It'll be the unofficial, hard money backing to the global economy. But but what I mean by unofficial is that there won't be, some big announcement in the some forum meeting and, G8 conference. And they're like, okay, we're all going with Bitcoin. Like, we're way, way away from that. Like, that'll be when my kids are in charge is like, when that's a possibility. Jerkakuba asked, so when am I getting my Lambo? I mean, I won't, like that's what's funny is I talk about money. I understand all this, but I have too much now. Like, I want to live in the woods in a tiny home with a guitar and an amp and books and drugs and, just kind of minimize my life. Like I have too much stuff. Like, I have kids that want all this shit and all this stuff. And like, I don't want that, I want to get to a point where like I don't have any debt. I don't owe anyone anything. And I only sell my time when it's profitable for me, not just to be part of something and to have health insurance and all this stuff. Like, I just want to, I don't want to be a wage slave. Now, but this is different because I really like my job and they could actually pay me less and I would still probably do it. I'm never one that asks for a raise or, I'll take a raise if they give it to me, but I'm never like, they don't pay me enough, like my job's awesome. I like it. So I would probably keep doing it. But I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I don't buy nice things for myself, but like a Lambo isn't something I would need. A Tesla, yeah, like, but that's more for like the energy efficiency and like not having to, buy gas and, all, yeah, but it wouldn't be a status symbol. Let's put it that way. Rich is here. What's up, buddy? Oh, damn. You guys had a lot of, I guess crypto brings out more comments than than the other stuff I talk about, huh? Fed is planning to release inflation controls to move from 2% to 4%. No, they are planning on averaging 4%. And they have no, it can run as hot as they want, as they feel fit. That helps employment. So a big thing that's like stopping that from happening right now is just the uncertainty with the election. I mean, I don't think it's uncertain. Maybe some of you do. I don't know. In Congress, the biggest uncertainty, and I think the thing keeping the hopes that Donald Trump will still be the president and alive for a lot of Republicans is the Senate race in Georgia, because in reality, Biden's going to be the president, Kamala's going to be the vice president. If both Democrats win in Georgia, then essentially we have President Harris, who will vote on everything that gets put through Senate. She'll be the tiebreaker. That there's a lot of uncertainty there in the economy, because like, who knows, that means the Green New Deal can get pushed through. That means coronavirus relief and spending, like, I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty there, but when it comes down to it, is once all that shakes out, like, we're going to be spending money like that. If you thought the money printer was going burr before, you ain't seen nothing yet. And that's going to, I don't know. It's just crazy. We're coming up to a time where, I don't think the U.S. government will ever run not at a deficit, which means there will just be crazy money printing for the next foreseeable future, until we find an asteroid with a ton of, lithium on it or something. I don't know. Like, unless there's like some very hard resources that land in the United States and increase the money supply without the Federal Reserve being involved, we're just going to print the shit out of money, and they will try to average 4% inflation, but it will at times be very much higher than that. Peace through superior firepower. Yep. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, how many wars have been fought in the name of peace, love, and understanding through Jesus Christ, right? Like, there's like, we're the peacemakers because we could blow everyone off the face of the earth. And it's just such a contradiction that I really there. If you listen to enough like kind of big picture crypto people, so they all talk about how Bitcoin can end war, and I won't go into that, I guess, but like that, you can see a reality where that's real. That war is fought over oil and control of the global economy, and imports and exports and trade deals and all that stuff. And if the main value in the world was derived from crypto mining and stuff like that, but if the main global economy shifted to a deflationary system, like crypto is, like Bitcoin is, war would not be as necessary. We would be fighting over, being able to have cheaper energy or buy cheaper energy. Energy would become the thing that people fight over, which I guess they do now, if you consider that about oil. But anyway, Biden good or bad for crypto? I don't think it matters. I just don't think it matters. I mean, I will say Janet Yellen is going to be his Treasury Secretary, and Bitcoin really popped off during one of her speeches where someone held up a sign that said "Buy Bitcoin," and that was like the jumping off period of the last bull run. Whatever she sees differently about monetary and fiscal policy than who's been running it, was apparently good for crypto, and we're getting back to that. For most of Steve Mnuchin's fiscal policy stuff, Bitcoin was in a bear market. So just on that alone, with nowhere near enough research to back up my assumption is that Biden will be good for crypto, but it's more situational and the timing than the policy. People don't believe that the U.S. currency is best. It's just a liquid asset that works in most places. Yeah, I mean, nobody believes in the currency is like the best. It's just they believe in our economy as the best, and they're afraid of the implications of going around it. I mean, if you look, like some of the most active crypto Bitcoin networks in the world, or some of the places in the world where the Bitcoin network is most active, is in countries that we have economic sanctions against. That banking is tough in those countries, and they continue to be our enemies. The countries that don't have central banks, that aren't tied into kind of the global elite banking world, those are our sworn enemies. And they're also communists, and they're bad, and it's all this stuff. But it's like my relatively recent past couple years exploration of macroeconomics has been like, it's like a chicken and the egg kind of scenario of like, do we not like these countries because they don't recognize the dollar as being the reserve currency, or do they not recognize the dollar being the reserve currency because we don't like them? I don't know. It's kind of weird. I think a healthy economy implements both a central bank and a decentralized trade network. Yeah, I agree, Adam. I don't believe in hyper Bitcoinization to where like Bitcoin just runs the economy. I think at that point, that is possible in several generations, when basically AI just runs the world and there isn't a need for government and stuff like that. But as long as that there's actually still human decisions going on, like there needs to be central banks. It's just that they need to run all the stuff that is, too big to fail and too big to understand. It's us. It's our personal life experience, our personal path towards financial freedom that needs a decentralized trade network so that we don't get pushed down farther on the triangle that is the pyramid scheme of, crony capitalism. If we're going to get to the top of a pyramid scheme, the way to do that is through a decentralized deflationary economy. And yeah, so the central bank will always have a role, I think. It's just they don't need to really dictate kind of the caste system that is created. I think there's a way out. And a healthy economy would utilize both of those. Lightning Network layer 2 of Bitcoin allows for cash movement. Exactly. That's what I meant by when people are like, oh, it doesn't scale. It's like, it's just getting started. It's good. There's going to be improvements. There's going to be, like I said, that's like saying that, when Netflix came out being like, oh, that company's stupid. You can't stream stuff on your TV, which we didn't know existed then. Yeah, Blue Wallet to give Lightning a try. Yeah, I have Blue Wallet. I haven't used it. Bitcoin has changed my saving behavior so much that I just don't want to get rid of it. I know a lot of people swing trade and stuff like that. I don't. I have no interest in getting rid of any Bitcoin. Stan, I sent Bitcoin for he sent his old computer to me to give to my son, and I sent him Bitcoin just because it's a good payment for stuff like that, where you can wait 10 minutes to get it. It doesn't work at a store right now, really. But it kind of does if you use Square Cash or some other intermediary like PayPal or something like that. But as far as from a cold wallet to a cold wallet, I just don't want to do that, and the Bitcoin I sent Stan, I bought it right back, anyway. I was just sending it to him to save him on the fees and stuff like that. That's the other thing. The central bank, they can put out the cash that we could throw around and buy coffee with and stuff like that. I'm talking about savings and investment and having deflationary money that increases in value over time and doesn't lose value over time. That's the narrative of Bitcoin right now. And that's where the money's coming from. All this institutional money, there was an investment group in England last week that bought $775 million worth of Bitcoin. They aren't doing that to play some swing trade. They're doing that to save the value of that money for the long haul. And that's to go back to people who are bearish and oh, we're going to retest 14K at some point and all this kind of just trader market stuff. I don't know. I'm not short-sighted here. I'm long-term. This is my retirement. This is my, early retirement. This is my, what I'm going to leave to my kids, that kind of thinking, And so from that aspect, I don't think I'm smarter than this investment firm that almost, dropped $1 billion into Bitcoin at a level that everyone was saying we're going to, retrace from. I'm not smarter than them. I'm also not smarter than the traders that are making these little, 0.1 profit here and there, trading the, buying the bottom, selling the top, day trading and investing are two different things. And I'm not smarter than either of the big players in either of those avenues, but I do know what my goal is here, and I'm going to follow the lead of the people doing what I'm trying to do, and so I'm glad Lightning Network is being developed and will be used to make Bitcoin a peer-to-peer cash system. But I think that narrative is just a piece of the large picture of what Bitcoin's importance is. Have I read into any of Nick Land's philosophy about crypto? I think I've heard him on podcasts and stuff. I'll check him out. Ruben, can you lay out some thoughts about how a global and or nation state economy would look like in 10 years? Seems like capitalism and the structures of haves and have-nots will remain. Yeah, so it goes back to what I said at the start. Money is a game. Even, okay, so like if you want to look at like reality tunnels and simulation, okay, money is the point in the game of the simulation. Okay. And, you know, take Grand Theft Auto, right? Like you could just run around and steal cars and smash into stuff and go up to the mountains and jump off a cliff. And you can do all of these things and find a lot of enjoyment with that and not really worry about the money and the points and stuff like that. But if you want to like buy the garage and have the cars delivered and like do all the really like fun stuff that moves forward in the game that you need to like actually complete the missions and do all this stuff that the game was built to do, you need the money, you need the points, you know, and it goes back. I really think this is a universal truth that money is just an energy. There's always been something to represent money. It's the value derived from putting into the system, you know. We've corrupted that to the point, you know, with taxes and with all the stuff that the state and, you know, that governments have put in. We've corrupted that to the point that we, you know, maybe don't value money for what it is or value it too much. I'm not real sure. But it's still a game. And it is still a 50-50 game where 50% of the people win, 50% of the people lose, and those people need to lose for the other ones to win. And you'll never break that, regardless of what government intervenes or AI develops, whatever happens, it doesn't matter. There's going to be an energy that is what money represents. And as far as, you know, the superorganism of humanity is concerned, 50% are going to lose and probably not know that they were even playing the game, and 50% are going to win in whatever capacity that may be. I'm not saying win like they're billionaires. I'm just saying win like they've got what they need to get enjoyment and complete the missions that they're supposed to and stuff like that. So you know, what will the global economy look like in 10 years? It's going to be a fucking mess. It's going to be a mess, and it's going to continue. The money printing and all the stuff is all going to be implemented in the name of recovery. You know, like for the next 10 years, we're going to be recovering from this year, and everything you hear, everything you pass, whether it makes sense or not, is all going to be in the name of recovery, the name of recovery. But I think, you know, the United States will probably maintain their control, and there will constantly be hearing this stuff about, you know, China versus the United States, and like that whole thing is going to continue for quite some time. But what you're going to see is all these other little countries that their infrastructure starts to crumble, and their access to the central banks and everything is going to crumble. And we're going to see in the next couple of years, I'd say the next 2 years, some country is going to basically have their reserve, you know, they're going to have their Fort Knox is going to be a crypto wallet, a Bitcoin wallet, you know, like there's going to be some country that institutes a hard money system with no central banks, or the central bank will be the one that holds the Bitcoin. And all it takes is one, you know, and it's just going to go from there. I think we already saw Venezuela, their military started mining Bitcoin. And so it's a start there. All these countries that we rip on, you know, Iran, Venezuela, Syria, you know, all these things, like you can only push them so far to like, I got no fucking other option here. And they institute a Bitcoin standard, which will probably bring about more sanctions from the US and stuff like that. I don't know. But there's going to be a split in the haves and have-nots. There's countries that are haves and have-nots too. And the haves and have-nots as people need to start taking this light for after Bitcoin. But I think that nation states and countries are going to do that. And they might even split in two. There might be a North Syria and a South Syria, and South Syria mines Bitcoin, and North Syria, you know, still has all the oil reserves or something like that, you know. I totally see that happening in the next 10 years. But there will always be haves and have-nots. That will outlive the state. We will be a stateless society that still has haves and have-nots. That's just part of life. That's part of the yin and yang kind of scenario in the universe, I think. There's a hard limit and speed at which new BTC are mined. Yeah. Well, crap. Oh man, there's a lot of comments here. So Stan, sorry to tell you, your BCH Bitcoin Cash is not going to Moon. Well, I don't know. It actually might. I mean, there's going to be a lot of FOMO in the next 6 to 9 months, and I think a lot of coins will do well. You know, I mean, I'm still holding Litecoin for that very reason. I don't believe it's a decent project anymore or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I think like the best is going to be the DeFi stuff. Those tokens are going to do the best, but all the shit that's been sticking around, like that'll go up too. Post-quantum encryption algorithms exist and will be layered into Bitcoin when quantum computing becomes a threat. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's what I meant. Like, looking forward, like it's a problem, but I think that problem will be mitigated before it becomes a problem. And I think quantum computing will actually be good for crypto. Stan said BTC and ATH are worth holding, but that's it. Yeah, I agree. And BTC better than ETH. Yep. M said, I love Bitcoin. Nice. Joshua, what's up, buddy? Said Congress needs to appropriate BTC to pay off the federal deficit. That's the worst way to use BTC. I don't want them. They built that deficit. They can figure out how they're going to pay it off anyway. The BTC is for the people. If they authorize manipulating BTC to pay off the federal debt, then inflation would be initiated in BTC instead of USD, which would eventually even itself out without putting an official currency at risk. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen. I mean, when it comes to deficit and international debt, like it's all made up anyway. Nathan, it's been an insane 3 years. Congrats to all the hodlers. Yes. Slow and steady wins the race. Everyone that's been trading, you know, they probably made a lot of money if they were good traders, but I think more people lose money. You know, I heard so many people with all the DeFi stuff that were like, oh, I'm making so much money. And they're like, oh, then I got rug pulled and I lost 20 ETH, you know, stuff like that. Like just dollar cost average every week, take a portion of your paycheck that you don't need for the immediate, you know, near future. And just buy $100 of Bitcoin a week, no matter what the price is. Don't look at it. Put it someplace safe that it's not going to get hacked. Don't leave it on the exchange. And just keep on going. Hodl away. When it's down and everyone's saying it's dead, then buy with stuff you're uncomfortable with, because that's probably the best time to buy it. Malarkey. Hi, all. Lurker on the Discord. Happy to be part of your little club. Well, I'm happy to have you. Thanks for leaving a comment. Venezuela's military mining Bitcoin when Bitcoin nuke. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if some country has like cheap enough energy to like be very productive mining wise, like that's going to be, once we run out of oil or don't use gas and cars anymore, like we're going to like, you know, go bring democracy and freedom to Venezuela then when they've been mining Bitcoin and they have the most established Bitcoin mines or whatever, you know, like that's like, that'll be the new oil or lithium or whatever will be where the Bitcoin mines are. Alts will pump, but the next crash cycle will wipe out the majority again, just like 2018. Oh, yeah. What's up, Chris? Yeah. With the exception of Ethereum. I think Ethereum will reach a point where, because of that proof of stake, because of that lockup period, it will reach a point where, like, it'll crash like 50% or something like that, but it'll be higher than what it is right now. I bet there's a pretty solid floor put in to Ethereum. Malarkey's also in a few woo-woo crypto groups. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I pay attention to the non-woo-woo stuff, obviously. I think, a lot of my rambling today has been relatively non-woo-woo, but, my favorite podcast to listen to about crypto is Max Kaiser, and he's about as far out there as it gets. And, he believes that Satoshi was alien AI that was, kind of just dropped on the world, and that the Bitcoin network became self-aware, like in 2016, and is actually controlling the media, hype, and FUD. It's like all just controlled by the AI, and that's who Satoshi is like AI. And that's a pretty cool rabbit hole of thought to go down. But I recommend people listen to the Orange Pill podcast for a little more out there, very boisterous, extravagant kind of claims about Bitcoin that, I don't know, at least this year he's been right on a lot of stuff. But yeah, Josh said, I've been thinking that the deficit is just a story the Congress people tell to get our taxes. Yeah, I mean, it's fake. If you can run at a deficit for so long, where's that money coming from? You just print more. So, and then if there's, the national debt, who are they ever going to pay that off? No, it's just a thing. And it's fiat needs debt. Everyone needs to be in debt to each other for the fiat system to work. Everyone needs to run at a deficit. Everyone, this is modern monetary theory that debt is good. Deficits are good because as long as people owe each other something, they'll be constantly working and not really questioning stuff because they're trying to pay off the debt. And, that works on a global government level, but we see that in our lives. How many people work a job they fucking hate, sell 40 hours a week of their life to a company they don't like, just because you got a mortgage, you got credit card debt, and you could do something that you wanted to do. You could work less and have more time to do something you want to do, but you can't afford to. So that problem exists on our level, but it exists for governments as well. It's all part of that 50-50 game. It's all part of a fiat crony capitalist system. So it's the government debt, the government deficit. It's not going anywhere, and it's not a story that Congress tells people to get taxes. It's a story that politicians tell people to get votes. And it's just this thing. The Republicans have been in control for for 4 years or whatever, and they're supposed to be the party of fiscal conservative, and all they've done is argue about unemployment benefits and stimulus checks during a pandemic where we have more people out of work than ever and the GDP is lower than ever and all these things. But other than that, they've increased the military budget tenfold every time they get a chance to. That's the only thing that our partisan government in this country ever agrees on, is increasing the military budget. It's not real. Anybody who talks about the I'm going to get rid of the deficit and we're going to institute this thing where if the deficit gets to this level, all these bills get cut and all this, it's all nonsense, because the things they cut are the things that the people that have, are in their cult, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, they want to cut the stuff that people don't like in their cult, but that the other cult likes. And so if you say like the deficit's a problem, we're going to cut all those things that they like so that there's more money for the stuff we like that's all deficit budget talks are in politics. They're going to do what they're going to do. And they all know they can't do anything about the debt and deficit problem. So it's all just political campaigning nonsense. Yeah, exactly. Most of the debt is owed to the Federal Reserve. So who do we really owe? Ourselves. Exactly. I mean, it's like taking out a loan to pay off your credit cards. Like, okay, you didn't fix the problem, but you keep kicking that can down the road. And like I said, we all struggle with those things in the path to our own financial freedom. But the government struggles with those things, except they don't actually have the goal of financial freedom. All they're trying to do is get their job for the next 6 years or whatever. Not just senators, but they're just trying to get their job. They're just trying to get their job, and to get their job, they got to convince you they're trying to do something. Malarkey said, ZIL, DGB, Theta. Yeah, I mean, those are all shit coins as far as I'm concerned. I used to have a lot of DGB. I did have ZIL. I made some profit on that, took it into Bitcoin, put it in a cold wallet. The network activity on all three of those is pretty much nothing. The development on all three of those is pretty much nothing. At one time, I thought DGB was going to be kind of the copper to Bitcoin's gold and Ethereum silver, or that it would be the pocket change that we would use. Instead of Lightning Network, you'd use DGB. It's a very fast cryptocurrency, but it doesn't. It's not used. It would take a ton of money. Like it would take like that investment firm that bought $775 million worth of Bitcoin. There would have to be a story come out that like that they also bought 900 million of DGB. Like that's the only way that like that they would even come close to catching up. I don't know. I may be wrong. Maybe it's a good thing that you got to hold for 10 years and then it'll pay off. I'm not real sure. Theta is a good idea. And that technology with like streaming content and basically, kind of blockchain version of Netflix, right? I don't know enough about the technology, but I do know that it would be like you hold the Theta token and you get T fuel, and then you can use that to stream stuff and content, I think, right? I'm not real sure, but regardless, in the future, yes, in a blockchain world, when my kids are my age, stuff like that will be commonplace. Will that be Theta, or will Theta be the Betamax to whatever does, take that over? I don't know. But again, that's something to worry about down the road. I'm talking about getting over this transition to the information age. Bitcoin's the only life raft, that I'm 100% sure by the time Theta is something that people would be just using. I don't know. We're not there yet. That's a total speculative hold. But it's not complete dog shit. It has good partnerships. I get it. But like, you got to look too, like if it was legit, if there was enough network usage of it and enough development and enough legit partnerships, you'd be able to hold it as a U.S. resident. You'd be able to have it on a U.S. exchange. The fact that it's not, like, I don't know, it's just kind of fishy to me. It's not the worst hold. Don't get me wrong. But it's looking over the point that we have to get through that's right in front of us. We have to preserve our wealth, our savings, And I don't think Theta is the way to do that right now. Josh said, yeah, those conservatives are just aiming to get the votes from retirement fund holders. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing, like no politician is actually going to overturn Roe v. Wade, or, well, they're not going to make abortion illegal. Let's put it that way. Overturning Roe v. Wade has more to do with states' rights versus Fed rights, and there could be a battle there to where states can determine their own legality with abortion and stuff like that. And a lot of that has to do with government budget and Medicare, Medicaid, all that kind of crap. But from a morality standpoint, like, there's very few politicians that have a moral need to do anything to change the abortion situation in this country, but they will get up there and preach their heart out about being pro-life and stuff like that. But that's just to get votes from people that feel that way. Once the door shuts behind them, like, that's nowhere near what they try to do. and I'm not saying all politicians. There are some that are so pro-life that they actually try to do something, but then they find out that they can't really do anything about it. And so, fiscal conservatives are the same way. JG, this is the way. AGI token. I don't know what that is. Stan said, my buddy learned a lesson the hard way last week. He had all his money in a new coin, DISTX. A couple weeks after they go live, they shut us down. I warned him too. All I messaged him afterwards was, shit coins gonna shit. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't want to like ruin the dreams of someone who's like, oh, I can't afford a $20,000 Bitcoin, but this other thing should be like, it's an unregulated market. It's penny stocks. There's going to be things that sound great. Like, how many of these shit coins that then, that did great in 2017, for a month at a time and then disappeared. And then people dug in and like their website, just use names and like when you look at like their team or whatever, it was like names and pictures of like other companies in Japan and stuff like that. But they just like put a bunch of random Asian business people on their website, even though none of them had anything to do with it. There's so much of that. And you can't now, if you really believe, like, take Theta, for instance, and you're like, this is the future. I know a buddy who works at Samsung and they're going to institute this into all smart TVs starting 2021, whatever. Like, if you do have a real belief in it, by all means, hold it. Just like Bitcoin, just hold it. But everything else, all it is trying to do is get traders to steal your money, to steal your Bitcoin, because they will win that trade. When it goes to shit, they will win that trade. And they will win it by getting you to, well, and I mean a collective you, to believe like, oh shit, this is where you get your money, and then I'll worry about Bitcoin later, but I'll get rich off of Distex, and then I'll be cool, and this is going to be, it's got 10x potential in the next month, and like all this hype shit, but there's nothing behind it. It's fucking vaporware. It's an idea, and that's what shit coins are. I don't think Ethereum's a shit coin. But I can't confidently say that anything else is not a shit coin. And they're maybe not intentionally shit coins. It's just that they will end up being shit coins at the end. Google NASDAQ 3 alt picks for 2021. AGI as a decentralized AI marketplace. It's dynamite. Cool. Is it, where can you get it? these owners of new shitcoin making bank just throw all of your money at marketing and cash out once you're well in profit. Yeah, well, exactly. And it's so if you're dealing in shitcoins, you are a trader, and you need to like the number one rule of trading is like don't become emotionally attached to whatever you're trading. And there's so much of that. You have to take the emotion out of it. If you, I don't know, because I'm very emotional about Bitcoin. So like, I guess I'm not, yeah, I don't know. I already fell for that trick, and I'm not falling for that trick again. And like, I kind of feel like you see so much shit if you follow crypto Twitter and all the traders, like there's financial incentive to hype something and make you think like, oh, this is what you want to have your money in. This is going to kill it in 2021. And this is going to kill it right now. And look at this bullish divergence, whatever, all that stuff that people really don't understand. The people saying it understand. The people reading it don't really understand. If you're getting your trading tips from Twitter, like you're probably not a good trade, but there's financial incentive to manipulate you there. When you look at the investment firm I was talking about that invested $775 million, when you look at MicroStrategy that invested all this money, sold bonds, debt, junk bonds, whatever you want to call it, to investors, telling them, I'm going to take this money and buy $650 million worth of Bitcoin at this level at an all-time high. When this guy has started this company from the ground up and has been the CEO for over 30 years, it is not financially, he doesn't have a financial incentive to be to have that be a manipulation and misleading people. His entire career and his entire reputation is on the line doing that. I believe that he's being sincere and that he has a very high conviction. And this guy, if you look up Michael Saylor, who I'm talking about, the books he's wrote, and his whole career, he's always had a lot of insight into markets and stuff like that, and to where things are going. Like a lot of money, a lot of the money that he has, he made from buying domain names, holding them for a while, and selling them. And so he's always had this kind of foresight to see what's going to be in demand in the future. And I think that's what he's doing with Bitcoin. And like, I don't know, it's easier to believe him. He's not buying other assets. He's not buying other coins. He's not buying AGI. He's not buying Distex. He's not buying Theta. He's buying Bitcoin. And so I've been misled before with all this other shit coins. I don't want to fall for that again. Now I'm trying to follow the smart, intuitive, long haulers with foresight. And so like that, once I started following that reality tunnel, like all this stuff is just popping up. That's like, yeah, you're doing it right. And like I said, I mean, I think my portfolio is maybe 70% Bitcoin. So I have a lot of altcoin exposure. And value wise, probably more than a lot of these yahoos on Twitter too. Like that's the other thing. You don't know how much these people that pump shit coins are actually dealing with. But I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing with crypto, and I'm seeing it with Bitcoin. I'm not seeing it with shit coins, or if I do see it, I just don't believe it, and maybe I'm missing out on sick gains, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm not trying to get a Lambo. I'm, trying to not be a wage slave by the time I'm 40, But I will Google AGI and see what that's about. But I read about all these things. A big one that I a big shit coin that I'm banking on is Chainlink. It seems like it's more than just a shit coin, but at the end of the day, it's probably just a shit coin. But it is, that's one that, when you look at like the developer activity and the, network usage and stuff like that one actually like has a lot of shit on it. It has a lot of partnerships. It, is kind of mentioned everywhere. It has the cult following and the belief behind it. It has all that stuff, a lot of other shit coins that I see people mention, like, they just seem like penny stocks and there's like nothing behind it. I remember that the biggest one was Verge, XVG, if people remember that, back in 2017, 2018. And, I can't remember what market cap it got up to, but, the founder, CEO, COO, whatever. It was just some dude, just looked like he was just like me in my house, like just some guy in his fucking home office. Was like, we got a big development, but I need Verge donations. We got a big partnership announcement. But I need the community to come together and donate. We need, $10 million to make this partnership work. And so instead of like actually having a legit plan, a legit partnership where they could go out to venture capitalist firms to raise that money to bring in that, they instead had people give their tokens, their holders, their believers of their network, to them, to, it's basically not even a stock buyback. It was a stock like give back. With the hopes of like, okay, I'm going to donate this much Verge, and then they're going to have this announcement, and then the rest that I have is going to go up. It's going to be amazing. And their announcement was like Pornhub was going to accept it along with the other cryptocurrencies they were accepting. And it's like, okay, like that, like I remember like people thinking that was cool. And I remember Chris thinking that was cool. But like, that's not a legit partnership. And that's not the way you do this. Like that isn't decentralized venture capital. That isn't anything. That's just a scam, like to get a partnership and get your name out there, without putting your own money into it, And so like so many of them, when they come down to it, that's what they are, is just, just kind of vaporware like that. Like everyone thought before that, like, oh, Verge is like this privacy token. It's gonna be better than Monero, but you can get it real cheap now, like all this stuff. And then it's like, no, it's just some dude in his house that created it, So I don't know. Maybe I'm once bitten, twice shy when it comes to shit coins, but I don't know. Something tells me I'm kind of right there. But I'm not a trader. Like if you're a trader, shit coins are great. Shit coins are awesome, because for as great as the asymmetric potential is for Bitcoin, the asymmetric potential for shit coins is amazing, except the downside risk is much greater. It's always 100%, but the chance of the downside happening in a shit coin is much higher than Bitcoin's. Bitcoin is continuing to take off. It is the best investment option in crypto. It's the safest, most secure option in crypto. Like that's what I mean. Like the asymmetric potential is greater in other things. Like whatever AGI is market cap wise, like it could 10x next month with the announcement of something, or whatever, to where like I don't think Bitcoin's going to 10x next month, but then something could come out that AGI was labeled a security and whatever, and then it goes to nothing, or whatever, like shit like that can happen. And we're just like, that downside risk isn't going to happen with Bitcoin. It'll go through its cycles. It'll go through its cycles. It'll have pullbacks and retracements and consolidation periods and all that stuff, which is super fun for me to. That's one thing I've really loved about the crypto world, is it's taught me about charts and the psychology, markets and stuff like that. And that stuff really is really cool. The psychology and the energy behind that, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think it's a fractal of like life and the universe in general. For this struggle of bears versus bulls that we always talk about on crypto Twitter and stuff like that, or well, I mean, just markets in general, like that needs to be there. There needs to be bears for bulls to have something to bull against, and there needs to be bulls for bears to have something to bear against, and that's the way life is. There's bears and bulls in life, everything's not all roses. You need people reminding you of the doom and gloom there is in the world. Otherwise, you're just walking around with your head in the clouds. So I'm a bull in life as I'm a bull in markets. But I understand there's going to be this struggle, this yin and yang in markets where, the bears need to pull it down. Otherwise, you just can't go up forever, but it will always trend up. That's life. We're always going towards the transcendental object at the end of time, and we will never redirect our course. And markets and charts are the same way. Imagine employers paying you in Bitcoin. Would you still have federal income tax on that? I imagine. But I think we're a ways away from that. I mean, there'll be certain companies, like MicroStrategy might start paying their employees in Bitcoin if they want to, because they have so much. I don't know, There might be, no. So I bet there will be some intermediary company that comes around and as a Bitcoin payroll service, to where if you want to receive it in Bitcoin, there will be a middleman and you will pay some sort of tax on that. The government will tax the fiat payment first, and then you will get just like a direct deposit, you'll have a Bitcoin wallet set up with this company, and your paycheck will be deposited in Bitcoin, and you will cover all costs of that. I imagine none of that would fall on the employer, unless they were trying to do so as a way to bring in employees that they wanted because they had to offer that. I don't know, but actually that's a really good idea. If anyone wants to start a business, be a Bitcoin payroll intermediary. Like what's a Paycor? There could be Bitcore or stuff like that. All right. Well, that's an hour and a half of me rambling about Bitcoin. That's probably good. Thanks for all the people that popped in. If you didn't give a thumbs up, make sure you do. It's good talking to all you guys. I hope that my motivation to talk about this isn't a temporary market top signal, and I hope we I hope we continue going. I never want to say last chance, but it's definitely looking like if you want to get Bitcoin, if you want to get Bitcoin under $20,000, the next dip under that is probably your last chance. But this is all game of percentages, and as long as you start learning, start researching, and start understanding cycles, market cycles, all that stuff, you're just waiting. The train's going past you, and the longer it takes you to get on, the farther away from the bar car you're going to be. And yeah, man, I don't know. Your path to financial freedom starts the moment you decide to start it. And I think the best vehicle to that is Bitcoin and crypto. And I guess if you're still listening, you already know that. But till next time, stay safe, stay weird, stay sane. Thanks for helping find the others, guys. Peace.